Hey Canucks fans, the Canucks season is at its crossroads, and the next four games are going to determine which way the team goes. I'm Clay Emo, I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter, I'm at Clayton Emo on Instagram. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club. This is my Canucks take, all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Monday, February the 22nd. This is where you get Canucks insight that's positive and timely. Want to give a shout out to my Hall of Fame members, Jens95, simalexander, Just Incredible, a Nucksfan number 29. Thanks for your continued support, and thanks to the support of all members of all three levels. Appreciate all of you. You're listed in the description. And if you want to join the CCC Crew, just press the join button underneath any of my videos, or check out the memberships tab on this YouTube channel. Great live stream last night. Over 100 people. Maybe because it was Sunday night, we felt like we were going back to our roots, because that's when I used to do my live streams, my weekly live streams. But yeah, good attendance and good chat. Really good chat. Some good questions, some tough questions in the chat, and coming off a 4-3 loss, and a lot of people talking about is the season over? What should the Canucks do going forward? Are they going to make a trade? I want to address kind of all those things, but in the big picture, that was a tough loss. The fact that the Canucks were up 2-0, still up 2-1, and then you saw Winnipeg score twice in the third period to take a 3-2 lead, and then the Canucks salvage a point by scoring on a 6-on-4 power play and empty net, pulling the goalie with that Pettersson rocket with 30 seconds left. So that was exciting, and then to have that ripped away again, 30 seconds into overtime, similar to the Calgary game. I didn't like having that similar feeling, or that revisited feeling at all. So really quickly, I'll talk a bit about last night's game, but I want to talk more about going forward. Pettersson gets his two goals. The first one was beautiful. It was so skilled, taking it off the balance. If you've seen the slow motion replay, it's pretty amazing. And then putting it backwards through his legs, past Hellebuyck. And then his second goal, of course, tying it up. Brandon Sutter's goal was good. A nice little Hellebuyck lost track of the puck. And so those are three Canucks goals. The three Jets goals, at least in regulation, the three Jets goals, two of them based on Canucks turnovers. The first one, JT Miller not be able to clear it from behind his net. The second one, not a turnover, a bit of a turnover. A lot of line was a little sloppy, and Alex Edler made a ill-timed pinch. It just shows that the Canucks really aren't good enough to recover from mistakes. It's so challenging, right? And we talked about this in the postgame. They almost have to play mistake-free hockey, because every time they seem to make a mistake, even though they've really tightened up a lot of their defensive issues, anytime they seem to make a mistake, the puck ends up in the back of their nets. But then if you try and play too carefully and you try and play error-free hockey, then as we talked about in the live stream last night, then you become way too tentative. You're not aggressive enough, and then you simply are too easy to play against. So it's a difficult situation. It's a catch-22 for sure. The Pionk goal, that was tough. Holtby didn't even see it. Would like to see some sort of effort, at least flailing a little bit, but I guess not. And then those are three goals. And then the overtime goal, the Lotta line, they're probably pretty tired. It was Besser, Pettersson, and Hughes. They're probably pretty tired, given that they played almost half of the third period, but certainly didn't like Besser's effort there on the Pierre-Luc Dubois goal. And of course, Pierre-Luc Dubois scores his first two goals as a Jet against the Vancouver Canucks. One other thing, Zach McEwen taking matters in his own hands, beating up Derek Forbort. I talked about this. I didn't think it had to be done. I thought they had moved on, but I guess not. So that was a good spark for the Canucks at the start of the game. I'm sure Niels Hoglander was very happy, and thankfully it didn't fester throughout the game. It was one and done. They fought. It was done, and Forbort was certainly noticeable for the rest of the game, mostly because he was in the penalty box all game. Okay, so that was frustrating, because the Canucks could have won that game, and they could have not only. It's just as important for the Canucks to get 2 points, but in essence, you're preventing your opponent from getting 2 points. And whether you consider Toronto, Montreal, and maybe now even Edmonton as the elite, and then we got to chase Winnipeg and Calgary, or you just say it's Toronto and we got to chase Winnipeg, Calgary, Montreal, Edmonton, whatever. It's the same story. We got to win and not let the other team get any points. So here's the tricky thing, you guys. After their 5-1 loss in Toronto, the Canucks had a really good practice on the Sunday, and then since then they've played 7 solid games. 1 against Toronto, 4 against Calgary, and 2 against Winnipeg. They haven't been perfect games. They haven't been amazing games, but they've played really well. Their best stretch of the season. They've aside from those 3 Ottawa wins, the 3 Ottawa plus the Winnipeg win. So they've turned things around. Their systems are better. They now have an identity as a tight, checking, hard-working team. A lot of line is woken up. All these things. But despite playing better in the past 7 games, 14 points available, the Canucks have only obtained 6 out of those possible 14 points. In those 7 games, they have 2 wins, 3 losses, and 2 extra time losses. So 2 wins get you your 4 points, 2 extra time losses, another 2 points. So there's your 6. So that's only 6 out of 14. That means even though we got 5 out of 8 from Calgary, they got 4. So we only made up 1 point. That means against these 2 must-win games against Winnipeg, as I coined them, we got 1 point and they got 4. So we actually lost 3 points of ground. So that's the tough thing. It's easy to sit here and say, and believe me, I want to do this as the founder of the GLCPC. It's easy to sit here and say, oh, all the Canucks got to do is go on a 4-game win streak and then another 4-game win streak, win 8 of the next 10 or whatever it may be. It's easy to say that, and yes, you think that the Canucks can do it, but realistically, what evidence do we have that that's going to happen? We haven't played, in the last 7 games, we've played well, and yet we only have 6 out of a possible 14 points. And yet we want the Canucks to get 70% of the points going forward just to make the playoffs. That's going to be tough. I'm not saying it's impossible. Truly, nothing's impossible. Mathematically, it's still possible. But let's be honest here. How likely is that? Given that, like I said, they've played well, yet the points aren't coming. And they can try as hard as they can. They can get as lucky as they can. But to go at a 70% basically winning percentage going forward, that is points percentage, that is really, really tough. Now, I'm not throwing in the towel yet. If the Canucks somehow can take 2 from Edmonton, the next 2, Edmonton's playing really hot. They got 2 guys named McDavid and Draisaitl. You may have heard of them. If we can take the next 2 from the next 2 from Edmonton, and then the next 2 from Winnipeg before we get a 3-day break before facing Toronto again, then the Canucks will get the 9 out of the 12 points out of these 6 games that I've been talking about, 9 out of 12 points, and then they're at 500 again. But that's if they win 4 straight games. And we've seen that it's tough to win 2 straight games, let alone 4. So I think it's more of a reality check. I'm still optimistic. I'm still hopeful. But I think it's clear to see that the season is slowly slipping away. So having said that, if the season is slipping away, what happens to these 4 UFAs? Alex Edler, Brandon Sutter, Tanner Pearson, and Jordy Ben. I've always said if the Canucks were out of a playoff spot during when it comes to trade deadline, we should really look at moving those guys to recoup picks and assets, because we saw what happened in this year's draft. We didn't have a pick until the 3rd round. It was kind of a ho-hum draft for us. We need to get some picks back. Now, Alex Edler, I realize he's got a no-move clause, a full no-move clause. He can be exposed in the expansion draft, but his no-move clause is during the season. So maybe that's not a realistic piece. But you could still move Tanner Pearson for maybe a 2nd-round pick. You could still move Brandon Sutter for a mid-pick. You could still move Jordy Ben for a depth piece. So there's still 3 assets there that if we have no plans on signing any of these guys, why not try and move them for assets during the trade deadline? Now, there's a couple things to think about. Number one, do you want Tanner Pearson back? Because I think it's safe to say that Brandon Sutter and Jordy Ben likely going to go. But do you want Tanner Pearson back? You guys know I flip-flop on this all the time. I think he's a great complementary piece to Bo Horvat, but I also see that's $4 million that we can save, apply to other people, and that's puck closing spot. So that's one thing to think about. The other thing is you got to think of, with COVID, how much extra time teams need to work in new players. So if you're trading to a team in the States, you almost got to think 2 or 3 weeks ahead because of the quarantine and immigration, all that kind of things. If you're trading with a Canadian team, maybe it's a little less, but still, you have to be thinking a few weeks ahead. If the trade deadline is the first week of April, you got to really have any deals in place by the middle of March. So that's only 2 or 3 weeks away. So that's crazy how fast that's coming up. And then you know that it is a buyer's market this year. It's not a seller's market. It's a buyer's market because of all these crazy considerations with COVID. So it's not going to be very easy for the Canucks to maneuver out of where they are. Thomas Drance wrote about this in The Athletic this morning. Consider the assets that they have, plus these pending contracts for Hughes, Pettersson, the big 2, and of course there's Thatcher Demko as an RFA in there as well. So a lot of things to be done, and do we have confidence in Jim Benning to navigate all of these moves? So I just want to lay it out all for you there, Canucks fans, is yes, the Canucks can scratch and claw and fight their way back, but they've been trying to do that for the past 7 games, and they only got 6 out of 14 points. So I'm not sure how realistic it is that they're going to get 70% of the points going forward. Canucks fans, leave a comment below. Tell me what you think about, am I being too pessimistic somehow as the founder of the GLCPC, being too pessimistic, or do you agree with my realistic, albeit bleak, outcome? Leave a comment below. I love to read, react, and reply as always. Subscribe if you'd like to. Like this video if you'd like to. Join this channel as a member if you'd like to. And don't forget, I'll be interviewing Andrew Walker tonight for my next Zoom chat. Love him or hate him, I think it's going to be really fun. And look for that chat to premiere tomorrow morning. In the meantime, stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, and take care of each other. Have a great day. God bless. And go Canucks go.